Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to CSR right here on GNN. My name is Sara Suguitan and I am your host for tonight. We are going to talk about art education because it's summer and a lot of children are being sent by their parents to different art workshops. In this episode, we have a graduate of the Atty, AB Fine Arts, and also she has an MA in Art Studies from the UP, Miss Janine Michelle Cabato. Good evening, Ja. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Sarge. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for also for joining us. Okay, I'd like to talk about art education because it's summer and a lot of, well, when I was small, I used to also go to summer art workshops, but not necessarily in fine arts. When you say fine arts, it means like I would say the purer forms of art.
Yes,
is
like painting, drawing, sculpture. So more on the visual arts.
Visual arts, yes. So you yourself, you are an artist. Well, when we were in Ateneo in college,
Yes.
we had the same organization, Heights, and you were in the visual arts department.
It's a passion.
Yes, it's a passion. Yes, when it comes to painting and drawing and all of those things. Okay, now that it's summer and parents are choosing courses for their children, you as an art teacher, how do you develop, for example, modules or workshops for children, regardless of age?
Yeah. We have to make sure that we tap into the creativity of the child. So we don't necessarily teach the child what exactly to draw, but we teach the child to think. So for example, we show them a certain art form, for example, calligraphy, and then we give them an example, and then they will have to come up with their own, but based on their specific interests. So I have a few examples.
Okay, yes,
Is
please.
it okay? For example, this is a calligram. Calligram. Yeah. I just tell them, oh, we're going to do calligrams today, and then they have to come up with the words, their own words. So it's basically them.
Oh yeah, those are fine print, so to speak. Okay.
They're really good, no?
Yes.
These are my high school students.
All right. Okay. So these are made of words, pero there's a bigger picture and you have to fill in.
There's a bigger picture. But these are all their ideas. So you just have to teach them the basic, and then you have certain principles and elements. But since it's just crammed in 2 hours, 3 hours, we don't go through each one very specifically. Just have to make sure that the focus on the instructions are very clear, and then most of the time the art production is done by the child.
All right. You taught students in high school and also mostly high school students. Is there such a thing as a child who cannot draw, for example, or can anybody or everybody draw?
I like to think that anybody could draw.
Because I don't think I can draw.
Yeah, it's just the mindset. So,
just the mindset.
Yeah. If the child has a certain, we call it self-sabotage. Oh, miss, I don't know how to draw. And then it just stops them altogether. So, from drawing, you have to encourage the child. You just have to give them more specific questions. If you tell them to draw about the environment, then you have to tell them to draw a tree. But you cannot teach them to draw exactly a tree, like you draw it like this. Because then you would be sort of breaking the creativity of the child. Then the child just has to draw a tree according to his imagination, experience, all those things.
I would think that there are other schools or other, for example, workshops that precisely impose on a kid how to draw a tree, or is that also, as you said, you cannot really impose that on a child. You just say you can draw something about the environment, draw a tree or a mountain, but you cannot say, oh, it has to be, 3 feet high or a distance. You cannot prescribe those measurements, but it has to come from the child's imagination. But what about technique? Is that something that you can, teach children or teach anybody, for example? Because I hear about how you paint, abstract or chiaroscuro, ganon. Is that a technique? Is that something you can teach?
It's a different theory altogether. When you teach, you could also teach that way. You could teach the child first basic skills. This is how you do it, observation skills and contour drawing. And then once the child has it, practice, 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 the child can do it on their own. But since I'm working in a setup, I used to work in a setup that's very everyday. So they also have English, science, math. And I only meet with the child then just for 1 hour. So that's still divided by 3 because it's MAPE, diba? Music, art, and PE. So then the child doesn't have the entire time to think about it, to think about art. Art is just like 1 of 8, divided by 8 other subjects. So we teach a skill, but we don't delve on it too much. We sort of just make the child think creatively. And I think that's more important. Because when the child leaves the classroom, they don't really remember, so for me, I think, based on my experience, they don't really remember the skill, but they do remember how they were able to think about it, how they were able to imagine, how they were able to problem solve creatively. There.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, aside from calligram, what other, for example, techniques do you teach
I teach the kids. I have a number of, because I used to teach first year and second year high school. So this was pop-up art. It's my first year high school.
Cute. Okay, Christmas. Pasko na. Sana'y Pasko na. This is made by one of your students or by yourself?
No, made by one of my students.
Wow. I mean, it's a 3-dimensional.
They're very talented.
You can fold it.
The thing with teaching kids is that you have to give them something that they are challenged, but at the same time, if the child thinks that they cannot draw, do not give them something too difficult that they get frustrated. Because if they get frustrated, art is supposed to be fun. So you cannot frustrate the child in any way.
That's right. You were telling us earlier about self-sabotage. How many, for example, in a ratio of a class of 30 students, how many would sabotage themselves, so to speak?
About 5.
About 5 of
for
them
me.
would, meaning they will formulate excuses why they cannot,
I cannot draw,
they cannot accomplish the art exercise.
I'm not good in art, I'm better in math, I'm better in science. But of course, you have to make the child do it because you have to give a grade, right, at the end of the day.
Yes, that's true. So that's how you measure an output. They have to produce something.
They have to produce something. And you cannot just give a very broad instruction. Today we're going to draw about, for example, we're going to draw about a house. What house? Your house? My house? You have specific Malacanang Palace. What kind of house? So there, you just have to guide the child. I had a student once, for 1 hour, right? 1 hour subject. He was staring at his paper for about 40 minutes. Cannot do anything. He was thinking. He just couldn't think. It's like writer's block, but only for artists. It's just like thinking the entire time.
But it happens to any artist, this artist block?
It happens, but because you're in a setup, again, you're in a classroom setup, you cannot have time for those blank excuses. So you really have to make sure that the child is well motivated.
They have to produce. You have to create that environment, I would imagine, as a teacher.
Very encouraging.
Yes,
and like I said, like they are so busy with other subjects, and I always have to assure myself that since it's three subjects in one, MAPE, and each subject has a teacher, I have to make sure that when the child comes in, the child has fun.
All right, so that's the main objective of any art teacher or art educator. But you as a teacher, how would you grade the output of a child? What do you look for in grading an artwork, for example?
Of course, originality. Some kids, they take off from, now it's manga.
Anime.
They love anime, and then they copy from that. I'm okay with imitation and copying, but then they have to add something, something that's theirs, right?
Inject and then your personality into
that's
it.
where the creativity comes in. So you could get a little bit from anything that inspires you, and then you make up your own.
So that's mainly what you look for.
Mainly what I look for. I used to, I have a lot of experiences, so I learn from my mistakes. I used to grade, I used to think that neatness is one of the most, important. Because before I grew up, talagang it has to be clean. You cannot submit your artwork creased. It has to be really flat. All erasures talagang clean. But now, it depends on the creativity of the child. If I know that the child really worked on it, the diligence is there, very responsible, that they really have to follow the rules, but at the same time, they could put in what they want.
If they had more time, for example, then you accept that.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, but as you said, you learn from your mistakes. So there was a point in time that you as a teacher preferred it clean and neat. But
especially high school. They fold it, they crumple it.
Yeah, do they throw it around in the classroom, or are they well behaved in your class?
Di naman. Well behaved.
Okay, that's very good. That's very. I would think art classes should be fun. It should focus on developing the creativity of any child, regardless of whether they self-sabotage themselves or they're actually born with innate interest,
Talent,
or innate talent in art. But it's really, for me, it's so hard to quantify, I would think, or grade a particular artwork, or gauge children. Do you also rate, for example, behavior during
We have
class?
attitude.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's prescribed by the school.
It accounts for 10%, I remember, in LaSalle. Yeah. The use and handling of materials is about 30. And then you have your creativity. What also you teach the class. For example, we have basic elements and principles of art and design. And then if the child learned from it, it's being transposed to their artwork. So you have to see it also if it comes out.
It should also come out of the work of the student.
Yes.
And I would think it also reflects on how they are taught by the teacher. You should also teach
Yes.
them neatness, or how to
Yes.
clean up your
Yeah.
materials, because it's fun time, it's playtime, even for teenagers, I would think. So they have to be taught also how to clean up their own mess.
But even if it's fun, it always has to have a routine. So when they come in, well, for LaSalle, there's prayer. Prayer. But then you have to lay out your materials.
Yes.
The routine always helps because you are only given 1 hour. So even with clean up, there's a certain number of minutes, like 10 minutes to clean up
before you dismiss
before you dismiss them. So they know when they come in, they know what to do. For example, if it's art production, no standing up. Same like before.
Same as when they're younger. So the rules are the same, whether you're a teenager,
Yes.
you're young, or you're old. When you come into an art class, so you have that routine. You come in, you lay out your materials, you listen to
It
the
helps to be productive and efficient. So at the end of the day, you are sure that there's an output that you could grade.
But you as an artist, you also have a routine before you before you create.
Yeah, discipline.
Discipline.
You have to be disciplined. So time management. By the end of this week, it's supposed to be done, 70% supposed to be done, because you have to meet the deadlines also with the exhibition.
With the exhibition. Or you also have exhibited your works.
Yes, I have.
In public. So where have you conducted? Where have you exhibited your artworks?
Also in LaSalle.
Wow, congratulations! It's a very big, I think, achievement to be, exhibited to hold your own, what do you call it, art exhibit?
Art exhibit.
Yes.
I've also had in Ateneo, Zamboanga.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's right. Ateneo de Zamboanga. And what other techniques do you have that you teach your kids, your students, rather?
Some of the techniques are also based on the medium, art medium. So we have colored pencils here.
Okay, sprayy. Do you get to keep the artworks of your students?
No, this one.
Or did you just borrow these things?
It was exhibited. One of the reasons also. The grading system could be a reward, could also be a punishment for them. I make sure that it's a personal decision. I make sure that their grades are high. Because it's art, it's supposed to be fun. Yeah. So those that are really nice, I exhibit them. And they really like that. Like, yes, I exhibit my work, so it's a rewarding experience, even if it's just in school.
All right. Okay.
So this one, I had them choose a number of sculptors, Philippine sculptors, artists. This one was about Eduardo Castrillo. So you have
It's a comic.
yeah, it's a comic that they did. And he was the one who designed a number of sculptures around Metro Manila.
Okay. Wow, that's very good to hear.
Very nice,
We'll discuss more artworks from Miss Jacobato, and we'll be joined by Sheena Iratan right here on CSR. Don't anybody go away.